Hey everybody, today we are taking a walk down memory lane. A few, actually 20 years ago, I got obsessed with making tracks for the game NASCAR Racing 2003. During that time, I co-ran a website called Racetrack Central, where we released a lot of fictional tracks and a few real-world tracks for the game. In a world of 2004, I was freshly graduating high school and found myself with a decent amount of time on my hands. Around that time, they released the Sandbox tool. The very short history is that NR2K3 is the last of the last. It is the last version of the Papyrus NASCAR racing series, and because of that, I think, they released the tools to basically make your own tracks and let the community of the game kind of keep it alive. They didn't end up doing that for car mods. Why, I'm not too sure, but I'm so glad that they released these tools to make tracks, because track making is something that as a little kid I was obsessed with. I used to draw them out on paper, and then growing into adulthood I became obsessed with learning this software. Thanks to documents and tutorials like this, I was able to learn and figure out how to use all of this software to make my dreams come true. My dreams kind of stemmed back actually to NASCAR Racing 2. So for NASCAR Racing 2, there was an expansion pack that released 2 fantasy tracks. At the time, this was the pinnacle of NASCAR sim racing, and the whole concept of having these fantasy tracks in what was a simulator game was pretty amazing to me. I had so much fun, especially with Red Rock. Red Rock, I believe it was called Red Rock Valley or something like that, was a super hilly, high-banked, very wide racetrack that was mostly a super speedway road course. So fast forwarding into the NASCAR 2003 era, I had the time, I had the energy, I had the motivation, and I had the tools. So I started to make tracks. I made somewhere between 100 and 200 tracks for the game. Fully released finished versions, I would say at least 50. Sadly, I lost pretty much all of the files that I had created, both through a hard drive failure, a little bit of a falling out with one of the people that I ran the site with, and just time. I deeply regret that now and wish I had done a better job of maintaining the files and saving them for future preservation, because still to this day people love NASCAR Racing 2003, and as I have found out, people still use my tracks. Thankfully, I was able to track down about 25 of my tracks, and covering a decent span of my track making career, if you will. So today we're going to take a look, starting with the road courses. I'm going to be joined by Billy Strange. Billy is a long-known, established member of the sim racing community and the sim racing news community, if you look back in time to things like ISR. And I am looking forward to showing Billy some of these creations of mine. It'll be his first introduction to them. He's actually pretty much brand new to NASCAR 2003. He got into sim racing kind of post the 2K3 era. So it'll be brand new to him, and it's going to be mostly brand new to me. I have not touched any of this stuff in at least a decade, honestly heading towards 15 years. So I am really looking forward to looking at some of my old creations, judging them. I want to give them a score and see if I was just fully cracked out, if I actually had some good ideas, and mostly just reliving the nostalgia. First up is going to be Mirage. This is the 2005 version, which I assume was an updated version. This is basically the first track that I remember ever actually finishing and releasing. It is a micro road course, only a half mile, a little over half mile in length, with extreme elevation, very tight corners. I have no idea what I was thinking. I guess maybe it was the scale factor that made it more approachable, but this track is absolutely wacky. These cup cars have zero reason to be on a track like this, but it actually ends up being pretty fun. So now join us for some live reactions from both me and Billy.
Well, right out of the gate, I'm in the pit
Nice.
stall, and I can't even see where I'm going.
Where in the hell am I?
Like,
Cone, where did you put me? I'm on the surface of Saturn. I don't think I've gotten out of second gear, Cone.
no, me either. I mean, it's only a half-mile road course. What do you want?
It's a go-kart track. This is incredible.
So you're saying it's really good?
It's this creativity, 10 out of 10 here.
Oh, come on now. You can't give it a 10 out of 10.
I don't know. This is pretty good. Like, no straightaways,
Woo.
pretty much.
Have you caught air going over the finish line, though?
Oh, no. I've been trying to dodge people.
You know, it's really not that bad once you get used to the layout.
Whee! Oh, that was a good one. Holy shit.
I gotta say, the AI are handling this a lot better than I expected them to.
At first, I thought it was a disaster, but then I realized your pit lane starts about halfway around the track,
Yeah.
or get to pit road, and I was like, well,
I mean,
I thought that was dirt.
you had to, like, fit a pit road that fit 43 cars on a half-mile road course.
Jesus.
All right, and with that, I'm going to give this one a grade of 50, which is not great, but it's, an older track. And Billy is going to give it a 53. Deserving, I would say. Now we're going to move on to Piggzville Park, which is the first track in a series of tracks that I did for Pigs Racing, which was a league for NASCAR 2003, and it is one that I ran in quite frequently. I don't remember exactly who reached out to whom, but Larry of Pigs Racing definitely was favorable to my track design, and I guess gave me full reins on this first one because it is a huge road course, just full of elevation, turns, variety. It's kind of a smorgasbord track. There's every different kind of radius, there's every different kind of elevation. It is a park, and I think it's pretty much right in line with what I was talking about earlier, how I was fascinated by tracks like Red Rock, where you had these unbelievable elevation changes and banked turns on a road course configuration that you could then run with realistic, NASCAR or Trans Am cars. And I think that is something that was a constant lure to me. I noticed in this one that there is a lot less of the realism-inspired approach that I remember feeling like I was into later on. There's a lot of just open-ended walls and really dangerous bends and even some, I would say, unfortunate style turns that maybe aren't as nice to drive, but they just up the fantasy factor. This track, I know, kind of gained a little bit of a reputation for me. Like, this is the first time I think people really knew the name, Dodge RTC, and that I was a track maker. And I'm still pretty proud of this. It looks, I think, really good, considering I only had maybe 2 or 3 completed tracks under my belt by the time I got to this. I know it's all basically reused assets, but the control that I was, displaying over the track vertices and stuff, I think was really impressive. Even if the track itself is a little off the rails, like this finish line that's in the braking zone.
Oh, the track falls away. Jesus. All right, we're into a right-hander.
Whoa, what was that?
Where I'm at here. Oh, now we're going. This is like Gran Turismo. We're going through a tunnel.
Oh,
Maybe like an overpass.
You've said the magic words.
Did I?
Yeah. Certainly one of my inspirations for a lot of my fictional track making was Gran Turismo. Alright, I've made an observation. I guess I just didn't like braking markers. Like, was I against them? Did I think they were unnecessary?
So many turns.
So many turns. I like that grandstand that's like buried behind the wall.
Right? I mean, that does something.
Some people want to be really safe at the track, you know?
I can understand that.
I want to hear the cars go by, but I don't want to see them.
Let's see. Okay, let's try this one more time with feeling.
Oh, I like this cute little wall right next to the cliff, too.
Yeah, it does. Helps us out a whole lot.
I do feel like it was probably for sight lines, so you can actually see the turn, but I don't think that wall would do anything if you hit it.
Yeah, this it's so funny to like see fictional tracks done, even not just by you, but by other, Gran Turismo and Forza and some of these other things, and when they borrow aspects from very distinct parts of tracks, or it's just very interesting to see where the influence for the track came from.
It's also interesting to see, because at the time, like, I wasn't a 3D modeler. Like, I couldn't load up, at the time, I guess it was probably 3D Studio Max, and make my own assets. So you were borrowing from the tracks that came with the game and mixing and matching those little details to make your track.
Okay, I like it all the way up. Like that after the underpass or whatever you call that right-hander's cool. This next right-hander, kind of long sweeping hair with 3 different colors of pavement, and then it goes to concrete.
Yeah.
Right when it goes to concrete.
You're out.
Yeah. We could skip this part.
Well, I do distinctly remember we made a short version of this that I think shortcuts the whole back half of the track.
All right. Well, I mean, I appreciate the, again, creativity here. You managed to throw in Mirage a little bit into this, so that's good. It's just, it's not even this last little bit. It's just that small section right there.
Yeah, where it gets a little too tight, I feel.
Yeah, because all this other stuff where you're kind of up in the air, this is fine.
This one I'm going to give a 67, mostly held back by the complete lack of realism. Billy's actually going to go for a passing score of 78, which is probably fair. Then we move on to Piggzport, which is an infield road course based off of a super speedway that I made, and I think that was a pretty early project. This might be one of the first super speedways that I ended up making. The road course, I believe, came a little bit later, and I can definitely tell that I was doing a lot more experimenting with the graphics and such that you can do with the game. There's a lot more custom assets around, and overall it just feels like a more polished product than Piggzville Park was. This one I think maybe is a little bit held back by my overly ambitious take on road course design. There is some good fun variety in the turns, some really fast flat turns, some really fast banked turns. There's also some turns that are, well, frankly, unimaginably tight, like this section under the tunnel. Great creativity. Like, I'm impressed with myself that I was able to pull this stuff basically without knowing how to do any 3D modeling and just bashing Sandbox to its absolute core to make these kinds of things happen. The layout of the track, I think, is decent. I was getting better about putting in braking markers and things around the track to give you sight lines, but there's still a lot of blind apexes and just kind of awkward transitions through some of the turns. It's obvious to me that by this point I was already making the tracks primarily for the Trans Am mod, not so much for the Cup stuff, but it's drivable with a Cup car for sure. One major issue that I noticed on a lot of these earlier tracks that I made is that the setups that come with them are very poor, and the AI lines are very lackluster. This track in particular I can imagine being super difficult to make a setup for because it is almost the entire super speedway, and it was a very high banked, tight radius super speedway, so you need a ton of ground clearance to get through those turns in a road course car with downforce. And then quite a few of these kind of high-speed flat turns, like the bus stop, very large bus stop chicane. There's, a decent amount of variety to it that makes it fun, it makes it interesting. Honestly, at this point, I know we raced this track multiple times. I almost feel a little bad for my competitors because this one's a real test of bravery, maybe, but mostly stupidity.
The same gear ratio here.
Whoa, look at me! I learned that turn had, like, obvious braking markers in it. Oh, just that one.
Here we go. So we're down below the line?
Yeah, you just stay below that line. Oh, God, how many apexes does this turn have?
Braking markers. Oh, my God. I don't think I can slow down. Oh, I barely made it.
Holy banking. Oh, I'm bottoming out. Oh, good braking markers. Nice job, me. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is
very Indianapolis feeling.
Oh, this is
just
swanky.
How flat.
Yeah. Whoa.
How many apexes did you put in that corner?
So many apexes.
All right.
Oh,
you
right
like
here.
these long bank corners.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it though that you can't be totally wide open.
Yeah, it's not just a no corner. It's not a straightaway that's a corner.
Yep. God, we're gonna die. Yep. Oh, and I have damage on.
Oh, I did not do that. I was much less brave.
Yeah. Well, it adds a bit of intrigue and excitement.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit, there's a chicane here? Oh, let's slow down.
I like how everything's still a surprise to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lifetime ago for me.
Folks, we got a chicane.
I don't remember this.
I like this little bus stop thing you got going on here where the tunnel is, though. That's pretty cool. Like kind of Daytona-esque.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we talked about it earlier. If you have to put a chicane in your track, and it's a brand new track, then you failed as a track designer. But this, when you're taking an oval and trying to, make a road course in it, you can actually make those something that's pretty fun.
All right, this one I ended up giving a 65, just a little bit worse on the score. I think it's actually a better track, but still a lot of room for improvement. Billy went for an 89, which is a very generous score, thank you. Now we move on to Green Valley Ring, which I believe is one of my later tracks. It's one of the last ones that I can find on the Wayback Machine of our website, and I think this is kind of a return to the roots kind of situation where it feels like those tracks that I fell in love with for NASCAR Racing 2. It has all of the elements of those early fantasy tracks where it's really, really high speed, big banked corners, but just enough road courseness to it that it doesn't feel like you're just on a plain super speedway. I was on the fence on whether to include this in the super speedway or the road course category, but to me it's a very, very fast road course, and I love the layout of this. I feel like my understanding of how the radius of the turns connect to each other was way better by this point, and in that we ended up with a really fun layout. And despite the fact that there's not much to this, there's not huge grandstands, it's basically asphalt, grass, and trees, and the crazy pit road tunnel thing that I don't fully understand but looks really cool. It's bare bones, and yet somehow I really like the way that this looks and kind of just represents the kinds of tracks that I enjoyed doing. I'm really glad that I ended up tracking this one down. It was such a huge surprise to me. I had no recollection of this place at all.
So I'm just ready for the fun of this one.
4.3 miles, a long one.
All right, I'm hitting the track. Oh, God.
Okay.
Whoa.
Okay.
Limit 70. Keep it under 4,500 in second. Okay, you're clear of pit lane.
All right, I'm putting my foot down. I'm wondering if I should have had this under super speedway. I don't know.
Okay. So you're whoa.
We're going fast,
Okay.
bud. Whoa. Okay, that was cool. Like the way you approach the track there, that's pretty cool.
Wow, what is this? What are you? Oh yeah, okay. All right. This gives me the deep forest vibe. Coming out of pit road. Oh, I'm winding this thing out before I even get to the track. All right, hold on.
It also feels like we are in the speedway package, not the road course package. You can tell because the force feedback is lighter.
Perfect.
I mean, it seems like it's pretty wide open though, or it's pretty open area. See, this is
when you're
super
trying
fun to me because I don't remember making this at all, and I'm like, yeah, I could see making this. This is because this is very much so like the track I was talking about that was for NASCAR Racing 2, where it was like a road course, but it was just a very, very fast road course with huge elevation.
Oh, I am dragging the car like something fierce through turn one. It has a little bit of lime rock to it.
It does, yeah. Visually, especially.
Yeah, wow, this is really spread out.
Yeah. I really like the visual coming down to the start-finish line. That's a super cool look. Like, you just see this gigantic banked turn down there. Can we go flat in there?
Where fictionally did you have this put?
I don't know.
It gives me maybe like a Virginia or Carolina, like maybe a Pennsylvania-ish. No, maybe not. Maybe that many hills. Wow, this is something.
I don't know that I need a lot of laps here, but it is enjoyable.
This is one of those that would be a good track to race in multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
You have room to make a mistake, and the corners are just enough that if you don't hit the first part of it right, you're going to move offline, and it's going to create passing opportunities.
Mm-hmm. I really like.
But then you have nice sections to just freaking draft battle.
Yeah. But like the way the last turn flattens out right at the end, if you don't hit that just right, you got to do a little lift, and that's gonna give somebody huge runs behind you. And then you got, the longest, fastest draft you've ever think of.
Would be an epic GT4 track.
I'm trying flat. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try flat. Oh, you can do it.
Where'd you go flat?
Turn 1. I just didn't have the cojones to do it before. Or I guess turn 2, technically.
Okay.
Oh, okay. When you get on the exit.
I'm at 228 going in.
Oh, he said you can't hit nothing.
Turning low.
You blew a tire.
Nope.
Oh, I blew a tire.
Oh, I rode the chain link fence.
Oh, nice. So like I was saying earlier, big surprise to me on this one. I'm going to give it a 76, and honestly, that's probably a little low. Billy gave it an 86, and I think that's a good fair rating for this one. Now we move on to Orlando, which I distinctly remember making this track. I just wish that I didn't. This one might be the biggest case of what was I thinking. So I know basically where I was going with it. I took the satellite imagery of the Orlando International Airport, and I made a racetrack out of the actual roads and runways of the airport. Why would I do that though? Because A, this with scenery and stuff looks nothing like the airport. B, this is one of the busiest airports in the world. You're never gonna close this place to run a race on it. And C, I didn't
try to make it a racetrack. Like, I kept it very open as if it was still the airport, and the big drawback there is you have no idea where you're going. It seemed like I was really into trying to represent the real world like location. I was getting better at doing the scaling of taking satellite imagery and replicating it. So there was probably some really good lessons learned here on how to do that for when I later got into recreating real tracks. I don't know that there's a lot else here. It's just not, it is not very good. Especially, I think if you were a third-person racer, back in the day that was kind of a thing, maybe you could have some fun with it. But from first person, it's next to impossible to know where you're going. Which is a shame, because I think a lot was done here that's pretty cool.
Oh, where are we going? Oh my God, your visuals are, this is so hard to figure out where you're going. Everything's the same, it's the same damn color.
I assume these cones mean I'm doing something. Am I turning right? Yes, okay.
Yeah. I don't know where to go. Oh, I just hit an invisible wall.
Ooh, okay.
Apparently you were supposed to turn there. You know, if you could have given me like an arrow or something, that would have been cool.
Oh, man.
Yeah, not that way, Billy. Anybody that was watching my stream would have just seen me explode my car, because I still forget to turn off damage.
Ooh, wow.
What is the hump? What is the hump coming off of
What
pit road
is the hump for? I don't know. Maybe fun? Wait, why is there a wall?
It's a fun, hey, it's a fun hump.
Oh, okay, I see, I think. I guess this is where I'm going?
An airport with permanent arco walls at the end is a choice.
This...
That it is.
Where am I supposed to be?
Dude, it's so hard to see where you're going. And I didn't have any cars on track in front of me, so I was completely blind.
Okay, well, considering the braking markers are on that side of the track.
Right.
Okay.
This reminds me of something. Not just Cleveland, but this is something. Oh, I was gonna
Okay, I made it to the
up
straightaway.
here. What the heck's my brain? Tiger? What? Top Gear?
The Top Gear test track?
That thing? Yeah. That's what this reminds me of.
Yeah, but like, imagine that if it was bad. I honestly don't want to do more laps here. I just want to find this jump. There it is. Okay, all right. The jump's pretty cool. Yeah, with visuals and some visual cues like markers and just like walls that are closer to the racing line, this could have been a lot better.
Short and sweet and to the point, 24. Definitely not a good track. Billy was a little bit nicer than me and gave it a 56, but I think we both agree that this one was a failure. But we move on from that to Mayville. Mayville is a track that I distinctly remember making, and I think it was one of the ones I was most proud of making. At this point, I was getting more into club racing. I was getting more interested into autocross. I was about to be, or maybe was, touring with the Spec Miata team. I was really enjoying the more laid-back kind of tracks versus the grand scale tracks. And I teamed up with I think it was Bill, the owner of Race Car Central. He kind of came up with the idea of doing a track that was kind of in his hometown area-ish, and scaling it off of that, modeling some of that. The main roadway here is a representation of like the small town there, and it was meant to be a small, narrow, and kind of slow racetrack for club racing. Is it a little weird to have cup cars on it? Sure. But I think it actually ends up being something that is very realistic of the kind of stuff you would see in regional SCCA. I don't think I went as far with the realism as I did later on, but I do feel like this is something, especially for this era, that feels right it flows really nice. Like, I definitely had a much better understanding of how the flow of the race course would basically work as you were racing. And yeah, this one, I had a feeling I would be proud of what I came up with here, and I do believe I am. All right, we're off to a good start. I can see the track when I leave pit road.
Hey, yeah, look at this. All right. I mean, you'd die if somebody went off the track right there as you're leaving pit road, but it's okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have some SE sections here. Okay, we're merging. Oh, into a bank, concrete on the bottom. A little bit of.
Whoa, that Watkins Glenness.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, that's a turn. Okay, to the left. Yep, thank you.
To the left, to the left.
And now we're back on the bridge. Oh,
yeah.
God. Oh, we're playing in the grass. Yep, good. Well, oh, now it feels like some sort of spa or old spa or
Yeah.
old R Factor tracks.
Random houses could be a Wreckfest track.
Okay, you like these? You can like these left into rights here. Okay,
Ooh, it's slippery. Very slippery.
it is. I kind of like the way this drives after I've got the hang of it.
I'm getting
right.
there with it now. I think off of what we've been racing at, this is a little bit more technical. So it took my brain a
Yeah,
second.
you definitely don't get time to like reset,
Yeah.
but it's mainly because I like that end section there, those S's into the front straightaway. That's cool. I like this. You may not get going really fast,
No.
like you said. It's probably not a cup car track, but even so, this is fun. I like this.
If there's a section I think I dislike, it's probably the very first section. Everything up until you get to the road, I feel like is his weakest part. Oh, look at the deer!
Deer?
That's a big ass deer. That's a moose. Holy.
Where was the moose?
Right by the lake. Ooh, maybe we can get out there.
Are you driving? I'm going to drive out by the. Can you drive out by the lake?
Yeah, I'm driving into the lake.
Okay, good. Oh, I'm gonna take this opportunity to get wet.
Oh God, it's deep. That's a deep lake.
I really like that. I mean, I really like the one where we were doing high speed. Because
Yeah.
that, I think, is a good
I think that's fun.
race track. Like, I think it's good to race on. This one as a driving track, I think is my favorite.
This one I ended up giving a 76, mostly because the funness wasn't super high for me. Billy really liked this one and gave it an 89 and thought it was super fun, so different strokes for different folks, I suppose. Now we move on to one that I have a ton of memories of, and that is Hawgenheim. This was the most ambitious track project I had done to the date of making this track. I had a bunch of help with doing some of these 3D graphics. We have custom grandstands, huge glass canopy. A lot of this stuff is basically unheard of for track making at this time. I think it looks just as good today as I remember it looking back then. I put a lot of time and effort into the scenery of this one and just overall making it feel polished. There are unfortunately some things about this that maybe did not hold up very well, and that is the drivability of the track. I don't know if, of course, like I said earlier, I lost all my files, so I don't know. Maybe somewhere down the line we got some bad files here or there. The layout of the track is amazing. I think, honestly, the layout of the track and the scenery of the track are some of my best work. I think it looks super realistic, and it can drive very realistic. I found that it works pretty well with the Trans Am cars, but I don't know. Maybe it's one of those cases where I kind of wish I could go back in time and fix this. This is the second version of the track that I released, but I feel like it could be a lot better if we dialed in the physics a little bit. You weren't just making the track, you also had to figure out the tire physics for the track, basically, how the grip level worked per surface. You also had to choose the chassis of the cars. There was basically, I think, 4 or 5 different physics engines available, and that stuff mattered too. So unfortunately, this one I have great memories of, and I still think it looks fantastic, but as you'll see when me and Billy try it out,
I'm almost getting, right off the bat, I know I'm not all the way through this, I'm almost getting a Barber Motorsports-esque.
Oh, I just got murdered. Jeez.
I'm kind of having a hard time hanging on to the car here.
It's another case where I feel like it's possible we're using the speedway cars, like the low downforce cars.
It would be interesting trying these with the Trans Am stuff.
Yeah, it would be, especially this one. I feel like
it is not a total disaster. I could still give it a 67, but I really wish it was higher. Billy gives it a 69, nice, but again, I really feel like it should be better. All right, well, curiosity got the best of me here. I had to know, is this track any better to drive in the Trans Am mod? I will say it is. It is better to drive. I don't know for sure that this is still the correct version of the track. It's possible that the version I've gotten has a modified INI file that reduces the grip or something. I don't know why anybody would have done that though. Or maybe this is just how it was. But they definitely, or the track definitely drives better in these grippier Trans Am cars. I like the layout of the track. I still love the way it looks. I especially like this section of S's, but particularly in the low speed corners. The place just feels way too slick. Really, when you're coming up to here, getting on the brakes, really gotta dance with the car, and yep, I would say 2 out of 3 laps I have spun the car to some degree through this section. Seems a bit hard to believe to me that this is the way that this track was, but who knows? All right, well, that concludes our first look at some of the tracks that I made over the history of Racetrack Central. This was the road course selection. I know I made many, many more, and if I do manage to track some of those down, I'd be down to check them out. And if you enjoyed this video of looking through memory lane, please let me know, because I have lots more to look at. There's super speedways like Hawgenheim, there's short tracks like Grand Detour, as well as some real tracks such as, let's see, Twin Ring Motegi. So if you're interested in seeing my take on some of those and looking back at some of the history of NASCAR Racing 2003, let me know. Either way, thanks for watching, I'll see you later, and thanks to all of my patrons. If it wasn't for your support, I couldn't make these long-form videos and take the walk down memory lane.